and we've just made our first arrest for a case that even we had a lot of video on. So without the video, you know, it may well have gone unsolved. So I think it played a huge role in the solving of this case. And the extent that we were able to get those images out throughout the entire state.
I know you've had WSU students monitoring those videos. Were they monitoring at the time of the attack, and are you looking into maybe having them do it more?
So we do have students that are part of a criminology class at WSU monitor those cameras as part of the class, and currently they are monitoring during our peak times in the Adams Mall area, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. And they were monitoring that night, and they were one of the reporting parties for this incident that occurred, along with parties that were at the scene.
You said you had about 15 to 20 witnesses there at the scene. How many of those actually made 911 calls? Besides the camera person on duty, how many 911 calls did you get from the scene?
The question is, how many 911 calls did we get from the scene? And the answer is, I don't know the answer to that.
Do you know where the first call came from, if it came from the scene or if it came from the camera monitors?
I don't know. It's my understanding that from the scene and the camera monitors was nearly simultaneous.
Roughly, how many total witnesses have come far or been located so far?
I believe we have about 8 witnesses. Does that sound right? In the neighborhood of 8. We've talked with probably 20 people, but 8 of those are actual witnesses to the incident.
I've read conflicting descriptions of the extent of the hits to Dr. Warner. Was this just based on one? What I read somewhere was it was one hit and then he fell, and it was the contact with the floor that hurt him, or really was it a repeated attack?
At this time, we're not going to release specific details about the assault itself.
Did the anonymous tip leading to Madeline's arrest come from Western Washington?
Yes, it came from Western Washington. The question was, did the tip that led to the arrest come from Western Washington? And the answer is yes, it did. Any other questions?
When you're speaking with some of these witnesses who have come forward so far, have they made any statements as to why maybe they waited to come forward, or maybe why some of the other witnesses haven't stepped forward yet?
Do you want to answer that?
It just took some time to get the word out, and once the word started to spread, people started coming forward.
Do you guys have a statement on that lack of time, or the amount of time that it took for this to spread? It seems to me that with technology and the reporting on this, people on campus should have known about this.
Right. So the question is, do we have a comment about the apparent lack of knowledge from people on campus about the incident? And I guess the only thing I could say is, you know, we continually look for ways to improve our methods of communication. We currently release information through the press. We have a web website. We use Facebook and we use Twitter, and now as a result of this case we're using YouTube. Initially, when we first put information about the incident on our Facebook account, we had a reach of about 18,000 people. I just received a report to show our weekly reach this week, and it was 44,000 people. So we are getting information out there, and people are taking the initiative to resend that information to get involved and to help us. So there is a large majority of people out there that really want to help with this case. But it's a matter of finding the right people. And so we'll continue to look for ways to improve our method of communication so that we can get to the widest range of people that we can. I'm not sure I'm getting your question.
Well, I guess, I'll rephrase it and then ask it. I want to ask this. It just seems to me that for the case to have been stalled for more than a week, and then we have the announcement, and there was a bunch of people talking about this week getting some sort of reward. It's been a big topic of discussion on social media, having the anonymous tip come in, arrest being made, all sort of at the same time that money is introduced. Just wondering if you have a comment.
You know, I would say that I don't think there's any connection between the reward and the anonymous tip, because we received that before the award was announced. But I would speculate that the tips that we're currently receiving can be attributed in part to the reward that's offered. Any other questions?
Is there any indication that Madeline is affiliated with the Greek community at all?
I don't have any specific information about affiliations that Ms. Fouts has.
Like possible charges that she may be facing. I know they're talked about in the press release, but in terms of charges are leveled against her and she's convicted,
So the question is, what type of sentence could Ms. Fouts be looking at if she were convicted of the charges that she's charged with? And rendering criminal assistance as a felony, the maximum penalty for that is 10 years.
And it's rendering criminal assistance in what degree?
Class first degree?
Class B felony.
Class B felony, yeah. Any other questions?
So if the three male suspects, if it's found out or maybe proved that they know that they're wanted or being looked for in relation to this case, would they have another charge, like some sort of evading charge, if they're purposely hiding out?
You know, there is no, and let me double check with our law expert here, but there really is no crime for not turning yourself in, essentially. There is a crime, as you can see on one of Ms. Fouts' charges, to render aid to someone who has committed a crime. So if someone were harboring them, knowing that they were hiding them because they were being pursued for a crime, then those people can be held accountable.
Have you felt like you've got good cooperation from the Greek community? I know that when the Adams Mall was sold, they were very worried about having a bar up there, and this happened there, and they're surrounding the area. They've been helping you.
So the question is whether we feel that we've received help from the Greek community, and we have gone to some members of the Greek community and they've facilitated spreading the word about this crime as well as the videos. So I would say in areas where we've asked them, we've received cooperation.
Indicated, or at the police advisory meeting the other day, people are saying that if you would just announce how people could come forward without being involved, by being anonymous. If on day one, would you typically, from here on out, change procedures, saying you can make anonymous tips this way, you can, we're talking about the secrecy, especially since it's saying that the tip came from Western Florida. Is there another way that we should announce these things and first say, you can make an anonymous tip this way?
So the question is whether we should, from here on out, offer or emphasize that people can make anonymous tips. And we currently do have a tip line where we encourage people to call in tips anonymously or otherwise. I think we emphasize that when we reach a point in the investigation where people aren't coming forward. I think rather than emphasizing that from the start of an investigation, we would emphasize more community involvement and and connection with the community, and really everyone taking care of the community to step forward and to help us with these cases.
Could people who have video footage of this on their cell phones face similar charges? Not providing that information?
No, if someone has the video on their cell phone, that would not be considered rendering assistance. So they could come forward and provide us with that video without fear of any type of punishment.
Any sort of penalty they can face for not doing that?
No, actually, not providing it, there's no penalty for that either.
To what extent has sort of, we had this rally for David Warner Facebook page, I know you talked about that, but what about some of these, like the postering, the flyering, just this word of mouth conversation about it? To what extent do you think that helped in the investigation?
So the question is, how much do we think the different events that have been in support of Dr. Warner helped the investigation? And I think they've been very helpful. I think they've helped us get the message out to those areas that we talked about earlier that we have a difficult time getting the information to. And I think those groups really facilitated getting that information out to a different audience that normally we would be able to. So, I think they were very helpful.
As law enforcement people, are you surprised at the lack of response you've gotten from people who have videos on their cell phones, or from people being hesitant to come forward? I'm surprised as a community person. I'm shocked.
So the question is if we're surprised at the lack of people coming forward and offering to help with either videos or statements. And I guess I would say make a general statement that typically up in that area, unfortunately, this is a common occurrence for us. We have a difficult time getting cooperation and statements from people that we are fairly certain actually know something or saw something. So it's a battle that we constantly fight. And if I think trying to turn a negative into a positive, I think maybe the dialogue that we're now having, particularly with a lot of the community groups, can maybe help change some of that.
In regards to this difficulty that you commonly have, would you say that these arrests are unusually fast or unusually slow in cases like this?
Well, in many cases, we know who the involved parties are, and then it becomes a matter of determining if one was an aggressor and that type of thing. So the cases where we don't know who the suspect is, those are the ones that obviously are more difficult for us, and it's very challenging to resolve those cases and identify a suspect. And again, talking about the cameras, I think the cameras are just going to be a huge benefit since they've been up and running for us in all of the cases that are up there. Did that answer your question?
No. Earlier you were saying that I got the impression that 10 days, because of the cameras, 10 days was rather fast for an arrest. I kind of got that impression.
Okay, if I said that I didn't, then I misspoke. I think what I was trying, what I was trying to say is I think 10 days is a long time to make an arrest when we do have video. And, in this case, it's because we didn't have people coming forward.
Did you say if this woman suspect is a junior, senior?
I don't know her status in school. I just know that she's a student. Okay, with that, thank you very much for coming.